Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Gurun Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Dalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Srivasa Adi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So we will continue our Srimad Bhagavatam discussion from the third canto, chapter 9, sloka number 10 onwards. Ahniya prithartha karana nishi nihashyana nana manorata diya kshanabanga nidra daivat tartha rachana rashayopi deva yusmat prasanga vimuka iha samsaranti. Such non-devotees engage their senses in very troublesome and extensive work, and they suffer insomnia at the night because their intelligence constantly breaks their sleep with various mental speculations. They are frustrated in all their various plans by supernatural power. Even great sages, if they are against your transcendental topics, must rotate in this material world. So it's a very, very graphic, presentation of what happens with the conditioned souls in the material world. Everyone, some of us can actually resonate with this and see that when we are too much obsessed with some thoughts, it is very, very troublesome, and it doesn't allow us to uh, take proper rest also. It just breaks our sleep again and again, right? So that's how the material problems are, and this is how, like, most of the people in the material world are suffering. And so they don't get proper sleep, because the intelligence or the mind keeps throwing different kinds of ideas, and people keep tossing and things like that. And nowadays this has become a big thing that to get proper sleep, people take medicines. So many people, they do that. So it is it's that is a way of materialistic life. There is so much of challenging plans, promising plans, and finally, like, everything is resulting in frustration only. And Brahmaji is actually telling that this is the condition of the people of the material world. So they're constantly obsessed with anxiety. So, yeah, and he's telling that even if somebody is of very, very great sage or great personality, if they are not taking shelter of the Lord, or if they are not hearing the glorifications of the Lord and taking pleasure in them, so then they have to take so much of tension, so much of anxiety. Purport. As described in the previous verse, people who have no taste for devotional service of the Lord are occupied in material engagements. Most of them engage during the daytime in hard physical labor. Their senses are engaged very extensively in troublesome duties in the gigantic plants of heavy industrial enterprise. The owners of such factories are engaged in finding a market for their industrial products, and the laborers are engaged in extensive production involving huge mechanical arrangements. Factory is another name for hell. At night, hellishly engaged persons take advantage of wine and women to satisfy their tired senses, but they are not even able to have sound sleep because their various mental speculative plans constantly interrupt their sleep. Because they suffer from insomnia, sometimes they feel sleepy in the morning for lack of insufficient rest. By the arrangement of supernatural power, even the great scientists and thinkers of the world suffer frustration of their various plans, and thus rot in the material world birth after birth. A great scientist may make discoveries in atomic energy for the quick destruction of the world, and may be awarded the best prize in the recognition of his service or disservice. But he also has to undergo the reactions of his work by rotating in the cycle of birth, cycle of repeated births and deaths, under the superhuman law of material nature. All these people who are against the principles of devotional service are destined to rotate in this material world without fail. This verse particularly mentions that even sages who are averse to the principle of devotional service to the Lord are also condemned to undergo the terms of material existence, not only in this age, but not only in this age, but formerly also. There were many sages who tried to invent their own system of religion without reference to devotional service to the Supreme Lord. But there cannot be any religious principle without devotional service to the Lord. The Supreme Lord is the leader of entire range of living entities, and no one can be equal to or greater than him. Even the Lord's impersonal feature, an all pervading, localized feature, cannot be on an equal level with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That means both Brahman and Paramatma also cannot be equal to the Supreme Lord. The Lord is the Bhagavan feature, or the personal feature of the Lord is very, very supreme. Okay, therefore, there cannot be any religion or system of genuine philosophy for advancement of living entities without the principle of devotional service. So, if we leave the path of devotional service, then what awaits us is only frustration. No, it's like that's we can see that be it material plans or be it seemingly spiritual plans, but not in sync with the Supreme Lord. So then it becomes frustrating. The impersonalists who take much trouble in penance and austerity for self liberation may approach the impersonal Brahmajyoti, but ultimately, because of not being situated in devotional service, they glide down again to the material world to undergo another term of material existence. This is confirmed as follows. Enne Ravindraksha Vimuktamaninas Tvayasta Bhava Davishuddha Buddhaya Aruhya Gachena Param Patam Tata Patanti Ado Anadrita Yushmadangriye. People who are falsely under the impression of being liberated without devotional service to the Lord may reach the goal of Brahmajyoti, but because of their impure consciousness for want of shelter in the Vaikuntha Lokas, such so called liberated persons again fall down into material existence. Therefore, no one can manufacture any system of religion without the principle of devotional service to the Lord. As we find in the sixth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, the initiator of religious principles is the Lord Himself. In Bhagavad Gita, also, we find that the Lord condemns all forms of religion other than that which entails the process of surrendering unto the Supreme. Any system which leads one to the devotional service of the Lord and nothing else is actually religion or philosophy. Very nicely put. So anything that we follow, if it ultimately reaches takes us to the point of surrendering to the Supreme Lord, then it is proper. No, then it is a proper religion. So otherwise, in the name of religion, no, we see that some some rituals and some procedures and all are done. And finally, what is a goal? Okay, you will get this, you will get that, and no, you can earn a lot of money and you will become very powerful in this world. So then that kind of result means then it is not religion. No, religion means that which takes us closer to God. No, that is religion. Okay, in the sixth canto, we find the following statements of Yamaraj, the controller of all unfaithful living entities. Dharmam tu sakshat bhagavat pranitam navai vidur rishayo napi devaha na siddha mukya asura manushyaha kuthonu vidya daracharanadya swayambur narada shambhu kumaro kapilo manuhu pralado janako bhishmo balir vayyasakir vayam dvadashaithe vijanimo dharmam bhagavatam bataha guhyam vishuddham durbodham yam nyatvarmritam ashnute. So here Yamaraj is telling to his servants the principles of dharma, and he's telling that dharmam to sakshat bhagavat pranitam. So dharma is like not cooked up by anybody. It is directly spoken by the Supreme Lord, or directly given by the Supreme Lord. And none of the demigods, none of the Devi Devatas, nobody knows about it. Only 12 people knows. What is that? Who are they? Swayambhu. Swayambhu is Brahma. Narada. Shambhu is Lord Shiva. Kumara, so four Kumaras, Kapila Muni, and then Manu is the father of mankind, then Prahlad, Janaka, Bhishma, Bali, and Vayasaki. Vayasaki means Sukadeva Goswami. So the son of Vyasadev. So he's called Vayasaki. So in this way, like these 12 people, Dvadasaite Vichanimo. So only these 12 people, they know about this science of Krishna consciousness, and no one else. And they propagate this science of Krishna consciousness throughout the world, right? Okay. So the principle of religion are initiated by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and no one else, including the sages and demigods, can manufacture any such principles. No, the origin is from Supreme Lord. Nobody can manufacture it. Since even great sages and demigods are unauthorized to inaugurate such principles of religion, what to speak of others, the so called mystics, demons, human beings, Vidyadharas, and Charanas living in lower planets? 12 personalities. They are Brahma, Narada, Lord Shiva, Kumara, Kapila, Manu, Prahlad Maharaj, Janaka Maharaj, Bhishma, Bali, Shukadeva Goswami, and Yamaraj are agents of the Lord authorized to speak and propagate the principles of religion. So this is how Srimad Bhagavatam says. Okay. The principles of religion are not open to any ordinary living entity. They are just to bring the human being onto the platform of morality. Morality, non-violence, etc., are necessary for misguided persons. But unless one is moral and non-violent, one cannot understand principles of religion. To understand what is actually religion is very difficult, even if one is situated in the principles of morality and non-violence. It is very confidential because as soon as one is conversant with the real principles of religion, he is at once liberated to the eternal life of bliss and knowledge. Therefore, one who is not situated in the principles of devotional service to the Lord should not pose himself as religious leader of innocent public. So nobody should pose himself as a religious leader, without being conversant with the devotional principles. The Ishopanishad emphatically forbids this nonsense, as in the following mantra: Andam tamam pravishyanti ye sambhutim upasate tato bhuya ivete tamo ya usambhutayam rataha. A person in ignorance of principles of religion, who therefore does nothing in the matter of religion, is far better than a person who misguides others in the name of religion without reference to the factual religious principles of devotional service. Such so-called leaders of religion are sure to be condemned by Brahma and other great authorities. So here, the essence of this shloka is that until unless we become a devotee of Lord, we cannot understand what is real religious principles. And the devotional service to the Lord is also been propagated in a systematic way by the great personalities who have been listed there. So Brahma, Narada, Shambhu, and Kapila, Janaka, Manu, and all these personalities. So in this way, we can see that the Krishna conscious knowledge that what we are studying is not a cooked up knowledge. It is directly initiated by the Lord, and it has been propagated by these great personalities. And we have the speeches of all these great personalities in Srimad Bhagavatam. And in this way, like we can see that this Bhagavatam is a very authorized book where the Supreme Lord is speaking the original devotional service, and his authorized representatives, they are also speaking about this principle of Srimad Bhagavatam. And in this way, like the Srimad Bhagavatam is complete. And by understanding this principle of religion, only then we will be able to guide others. Otherwise, we will only misguide it. And what we will guide others, we will not be able to. Okay, text 11. Tvam bhakti yoga prati paribhavita shrit saroja ashesh shruthekshita pato nanunata pumsam yadhyadya taurugaya vibhavayanti taddad vapu pranayase sadanu ragaya sad anugrahaya. Okay, translation. Oh my Lord, your devotees can see you through the eyes, through the ears by the process of bona fide hearing. And that's what we are trying to do every day, right? So we are trying to see the Lord through the process of hearing. And uh, and thus their hearts become cleansed, and you take your seat there. For you are so merciful to your devotees that you manifest yourself in the particular eternal form of transcendence in which they always think of you. So this process of hearing is so very powerful. So just by this process of hearing, we can actually invite the Lord in our hearts, and the Lord will reside in our hearts. You know, we will become purified, and then the Lord will come and stay in the heart. Purport: the statement here that the Lord manifests himself before the devotee in the form in which the devotee likes to worship him indicates that the Lord becomes subordinate to the desire of the devotee. So much so that he manifests his particular form as the devotee demands. This demand of the devotee is satisfied by the Lord because he is, you know, pliable. I'll just see the meaning of this word. Easily bent, pliable, no flexible. Okay. Because he is pliable in terms of the transcendental loving service of the devotee. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Ye yatamam prapadyante tam sataiva bhajamyaham. We should note, however, that the Lord is never the order supplier of the devotee. Here in this verse, it is particularly mentioned, Tvam Bhakti Yoga Pratibhavitha. This indicates the efficiency achieved through the execution of mature devotional service, or prema, that is love of God. So only if we get to that level of maturity, so then we will be able to attract the Lord, and we will be able to, the Lord will be like, in this kind of condition, like pitiable kind of condition, right? So otherwise, to the level that we surrender unto the Lord, to that level, ye yatamam prapadyante tam stataiva bhajamyaham. To that level, the Lord reciprocates. Okay, so this state of prema is achieved by the gradual process of development from faith to love. Faith means ado shraddha, then after that, what comes is sadhu sangha, then after that, bhajana kriya, then anartha nivriti, then nishta, ashakti, ruchi, bhava, and prema. So the prema is the last stage of development of faith, and this is how the gradual process we develop in our Krishna consciousness. So just like when we go to the school, we have the first standard, second standard, like that. So in Krishna consciousness also we have the stages, and it is all based on the intensity of faith a person has on the Supreme Lord. So when it becomes the highest level of faith, then it is called the prema, or love of Godhead. Okay. On faith, one associates with bona fide devotees, no sadhu sangha, and by such association, one become engaged in bona fide devotional service, bhajana kriya, which include proper initiation and execution of execution of primary duties prescribed in the revealed scriptures. So, bhajana kriya also includes the initiation and being engaged in devotional service of the Lord. Okay, this is clearly indicated herein by the word Shrutekshita. The Shrutekshita path is to hear from bona fide devotees who are conversant with Vedic wisdom, free from mundane sentiment. By this bona fide hearing process, the neophyte devotee becomes cleansed of all material rubbish, and thus he becomes attached to one of the many transcendental forms of the Lord as described in the Vedas. This attachment of the devotee to a particular form of the Lord is due to natural inclination. Each and every living entity is originally attached to a particular type of transcendental service because he is eternally the servitor of the Lord. Lord Chaitanya says that the living entity is eternally a servitor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. Therefore, every living entity has a particular type of service relationship with the Lord eternally. This particular attachment is invoked by the practice of regulative devotional service to the Lord, and thus the devotee becomes attached to the eternal form of the Lord, exactly like one who is already eternally attached. So basically, like, we are going to get purification of heart by the process of hearing, and we will develop from ado shraddha to prema gradually. And like when we get to the stage of prema, so we will be attached to one particular form of the Lord, and that which we have always been attached to, right? So we are eternally attached to a particular form. So just that the heart becomes purified, so our attraction to the Lord will naturally manifest, right? So Nitya Siddha Krishna Bhakti Sadhya Kabunai Shravanadi Shuddha Chitta Karaya Uday. So this is a statement from Chaitanya Charitamrita. We can see that like Nitya Siddha, no Krishna Bhakti. So this is like this Krishna Bhakti has always been there in our heart. It is only clouded by the anarthas, no? And then Sadhya Kabunai. So it is not something to be attained by sadhana. Sadhana is going to help us purify our heart, and then we are going to like unearth our eternal attachment with the Lord. Okay, this attachment for a particular form of the Lord is called Swarupa Siddhi. We get our perfection of Swarupa. We become established in our Swarupa. That is the resultant of that is we become attached to one particular form of the Lord. So then that means like we are actually coming closer to our Swarupa. So the Lord sits on the lotus heart of the devotee in the eternal form the pure devotee desires, and thus the Lord does not part from the devotee, as confirmed in the previous verse. The Lord, however, does not disclose himself as a casual or unauthentic worshipper to be exploited. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Naham Prakasha Sarvasya Yoga Maya Samavritah. So Naham Prakasha. No, I don't get visible. Sarvasya to everyone. No, I am covered by my Yoga Maya Samavritah. Rather, by Yoga Maya, the Lord remains concealed to the non-devotees or casual devotees who are serving their sense gratification. The Lord is never visible to the pseudo devotees who worship the demigods in charge of universal affairs. The conclusion is that the Lord cannot become the order supplier of a pseudo devotee, but he is always prepared to respond to the desires of a pure, unconditional devotee who is free from all tinges of material infection. Krishna. So it's a very, very nice purport now where we can see that if we want to become, if we want to attain perfection in devotional service, we have to become very simple hearted, very pure hearted, a person. And that is possible by regularly hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. The Krishna Katha will purify our heart. And once we become purified at heart, and if we are non-duplicious, we want to attain sense gratification, and then we are trying to do some this one, then it will take a long time. But if we are very, very straightforward, and if we are honest in our approach, and we just want to attain the lotus feet of the Lord, so then we see that this process becomes very soon, very, very smooth and very fast. We can actually attain the goal. So, and for people who are casual, they will never be able to get the darshan of the Lord. So, people who are serious about the devotional service, they will be able to get the darshan of the Lord. Okay, text 12. Nati prasidati tato pachitto pachare आराधितः सुरगणैर्हृदि बद्धकामै यत्सर्वभूतदयया सद् अलभ्ययैको नानाजनेष्व avahita suhridantaratma. My Lord, you are not very much satisfied by the worship of demigods who arrange for your worship very pompously with various paraphernalia, but who are full of material hankerings. You are situated in everyone's heart as the super soul just to show your causeless mercy, and you are the eternal well wisher, but you are unavailable for the non devotee. Okay. So purport. The demigods in the celestial heavenly planets, who are appointed administrators of the material affairs, are also devotees of the Lord, but at the same time they have desires for material opulence and sense gratification. The Lord is so kind that he awards them all sorts of material happiness more than they can desire, but he is not satisfied with them because they are not pure devotees. The Lord does not want any one of his innumerable sons, the living entities, to remain in the material world of threefold miseries, to perpetually suffer the material pangs of birth, death, old age, and disease. The demigods in the heavenly planets and many devotees on this planet also want to remain in the material world as devotees of the Lord and take advantage of material happiness. No, this is the foolishness actually of a devotee, where he wants to perform devotional service, but he also wants to enjoy the material happiness. No, so they do so at the risk of falling down to the lower status of existence, and this makes the Lord dissatisfied with them. Pure devotees are not desirous of any material enjoyment, nor are they averse to it. No, if the material enjoyment is given, they don't say no, and if it is taken off, they don't say no why it is taken off. So they are not attached to it. No, they completely dovetail their desires with desires of the Lord and perform nothing on their personal account. Arjuna is a good example. On his own sentiment, due to family affection, Arjuna did not want to fight. But finally, after hearing Srimad Bhagavad Gita, he agreed to fight in the interests of the Lord. Therefore, the Lord is very much satisfied with pure devotees because they do not act for sense gratification, but only in terms of Lord's desire. As Paramatma or Super Soul, he is situated in everyone's heart, always giving everyone the chance of good counsel. Thus, everyone should take the opportunity to render transcendental loving service to him wholly and solely. The non devotees, however, are neither like the demigods nor like the pure devotees, but are averse to transcendental relationship with the Lord. They have revolted against the Lord and must perpetually undergo the reactions of their own activities. Bhagavad Gita states, Ye yatamam prapadyante tam svataiva bhajamyaham. Although the Lord is equally kind to every living being, the living beings, for their own part, are able to please the Lord or to either a greater or lesser extent. Right? So, based on how the living entities serve the Lord, so based on that, the Lord will reciprocate. Ye yatamam prapadyante. So, like according to how they surrender, no, according to that, the Lord actually reciprocates. The demigods are called Sakama devotees. Sakama, Kama means material desires. Sakama means like with material desires, they are devotees. So they are devotees, but with material desires, or devotees with material desires in mind. While the pure devotees are called Nishkama devotees. So they don't have any material desires, right? Because they have no desires for their personal interest. The Sakama devotees are self interested because they do not think of others and therefore they are not able to satisfy the Lord perfectly. Whereas the pure devotees take the missionary responsibility of turning non devotees into devotees and they are therefore able to satisfy the Lord more than the demigods. The Lord is unmindful of the non devotees, although He is sitting within everyone's heart as well wisher and super soul. However, he also gives them the chance to receive his mercy through his pure devotees who are engaged in missionary activities. Sometimes the Lord himself descends for missionary activities, as he did in the form of Lord Chaitanya, but mostly he sends his bona fide representatives, and thus he shows his causeless mercy towards the non devotees. The Lord is so satisfied with his pure devotees that he wants to give them credit for missionary success, although he could do the work personally. This is the sign of his satisfaction with his pure Nishkama devotees compared to Sakama devotees. By such transcendental activities, the Lord simultaneously become free from the charge of uh, partiality and exhibits his pleasure with the devotees. So, how is he free from the charge of partiality? Now, how like the Lord can be charged with the acquisition of partiality? So, like yeah, like he's only dealing with the devotees and he's not doing anything for non-devotees. So the Lord is saying, no, I am trying my best. I am giving Bhagavad Gita. I am giving no, I'm sending my pure devotees who can go and preach the message of Krishna consciousness. And this is what is the mercy that the Lord shows towards the non devotees. So he is not partial, he's even trying to help them also. Right? Now, a question arises, if the Lord is sitting in the heart of non devotee, why are they not moved to become devotees? It may be answered that the stubborn non devotees are like the barren land or alkaline field where no agriculture activities can be successful. As part and parcel of the Lord, every individual living entity has a minute quantity of independence, and by misuse of this minute independence, the non-devotees commit offense after offense to both the Lord and to his pure devotees engaged in missionary work. As a result of such acts, they become as barren as an alkaline field where there is no strength to produce. Okay. So today is an auspicious Ekadashi, and we have an evening program also. So devotees can join that, and we are trying to chant as many rounds as possible, and then we are trying to fill in the form. No, that is there, and we will offer prayers for all of you, who are filling the forms, no, in the Dwadashi day, right? So please take part and try to take part in the evening program as well. And since there is some urgent engagement, I have to stop here today. So we will again meet tomorrow. So Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare